Do you know also that 33% of American women never retire? They retire at around the age of 85. Hi, everybody. This is Diane Gilman, formerly known as the Queen of Jeans on QVC-HSN, but now the proud host of my podcast named after my second book, Too Young to Be Old, and the sister podcast, the little sister, Fashion Thursdays with Diane. Well, whenever a year starts to draw to a close, I always like to take kind of a step back and take a historical overview. So today, what I want to talk about is from Wall Street to Hollywood, the rise and the fall of the power suit. And for those of you who are baby boomers like me, I'm going to give you a little walk back in time. So Ralph Lauren actually started selling ties, with horse bits on them in 1967, and it morphed into such an amazing company. But what helped it? Hollywood. 1974, The Great Gatsby. All those beautiful suits Robert Redford wore. Ralph Lauren. 1977, Annie Hall. What did she do? Well, it was Diane Keaton, after all. She deconstructed that uptight, kind of English, upper crust male look. Yes, she wore a tie. She wore a little vest. She wore a men's shirt. She wore men's khakis, but she made it her own. And oh my God, we could not get enough of it. I was in every thrift store in LA. I was living there at the time. And then New York was buying men's ties and out of the 40s and vests from three-piece suits. And so that's 1977. Then we want to go and jump to 1987 and Michael Douglas in Wall Street. One thing you'll notice, none of the women are wearing suits, but all the males who are working on Wall Street are dressed to the nines. Now we jump to 1999 and we've got Michael Kors, the Thomas Crown Affair, Rene Russo, and it's the first time you ever see a really smart, really serious businesswoman, independent, but she's cool. The clothing is daring, unexpected, but it's all about the power suit, but now it sort of becomes a power outfit. I'm going to go for 3 more issues before we just take a little walk back. 2012, what happened? Well, it rocked the fashion world, and it absolutely rocked Wall Street. Mark Zuckerberg goes to the New York Stock Exchange for his IPO for Facebook. Yeah, it was just 2012. Wow. Wearing jeans and a hoodie. He's wearing a hoodie. Oh my God. The fashion industry goes berserk. Oh, this is so horrible. Oh, how can he? Oh, and Wall Street is so offended. But what can they do? He's a future multi-billionaire, and he sets the tone for the demise of the power suit. Then, just recently, last week, Jamie Dimon, chairman of the board of JP Morgan, comes out with a statement. The future Gen Xers, I believe, will have a 3.5-day work week, presuming a majority of that is remote, and they will live to be 100. Well, that certainly changes the fashion industry just the way in 2018, 2017, the pandemic so changed the industry. And the future, are you ready for this? Prada, the unstoppable Italian fashion brand, gets a contract to design all the spacesuits for SpaceX, Elon Musk's space company, for the first commercial travel to Mars. Okay, so is the new power suit the space suit? And how long does it take for a trend to develop? Well, I want to say something to begin with. It wasn't so much how long it took for the trend of the power suit to develop, it was how much lasting power it had. And the fact that, and I give all the credit to Ralph Lauren for his marketing, for his recognition of fine tailoring. I never, in all the years I worked in Europe and worked in London, I never saw the English truly bow that respectfully to an American. But he actually set the tone for fine tailoring and for casual tailoring as well, a la the polo shirt. The point being, where are the big trends like that today? I remember, I have so many memories of this era, but I remember people pushing me and saying, there's two things you have to have. You cannot be a New York woman and not have a Giorgio Armani suit. And that was something Armani really brought to the fore through Hollywood in 1985 with American Gigolo, Richard Gere, and just this incredible closet full of suits. Oh my God, and they're all Armani. Everybody wants it. But Ralph Lauren took tailoring and dressing in a tailored way to heights. London had Savile Row, and I would say that one of the things I would say before I died peacefully would be to have a Savile Row bespoke, made to order suit made. But in his own way, Ralph Lauren made that totally possible. So as you had the rise of the stock market and making money that way for everybody, and an economy that was expanding, and the fashion industry was explosive. That's where you wanted to be, where you had to be. It was mirrored in the clothing we wear. I mean, to me, the status pieces were always the amazingly, impeccably tailored blazers. In the 80s, mid 80s, I bought 2 or 3 suits from Giorgio Armani. I don't think I love those suits, but you had to have them. You could not be masquerading as an influential business female in the 80s in New York City if you didn't have those suits. I liked other brands, but if I was going to invest my money, I was going to invest the real money with Ralph Lauren. It was so American. And, being in London, just shooting back there for a second, there was so much respect for him that if you were an upper scale, upper class Englishwoman, you didn't work, P.S., ever. That's what you wore on your downtime. If you weren't wearing a tailored piece from him, you were wearing a polo shirt and a dyed to match jean. But he truly, I think, Ralph Lauren elevated the viewpoint and the opinion of America and the U.S. economy through his clothing. Now, in fashion, what built fashion in America to be a huge industry was constantly anticipating these social events that would then be backed up in Hollywood with entertainment of that particular event. And then that would come together with the second tier product. So while Ralph Lauren is bringing out the polo shirt, which was a man's sports shirt, right? No woman had ever had the opportunity to wear something like that. You've now got the second tier coming in. Power suiting in the early 70s is enough of a tsunami in fashion that 1976 Liz Claiborne and Jones New York get going, open their doors. And honestly, 1976, Liz Claiborne becomes, you ready for this? The first female co-owner of a fashion company. How could that be? How could that be? Well, it was. Women did not own companies. Women worked for them. Women might get their name on a label like Anne Klein or Liz Claiborne, but that was absolutely unheard of. And we saw it as a huge step forward. I think the power suit, along with the fashion jean, which again, Ralph Lauren, through insanely brilliant marketing, made a category in American fashion. What do we have today? Nothing. I mean, there is no driving force of something where you say to yourself, I want to aspire to this label, higher and higher and higher. I don't have it in my closet. I need it. It represents who I want to be. Not necessarily who I am, but it's going to help me get to be the woman I always knew I could be. That is a tall order, and that's what power dressing was all about. So Liz Claiborne comes in, and I knew her. She's very beautiful, really smart. And she anticipated that it was going to be a two-person working household. For the first time in history, women were not going to stay home. They needed to help support. And if you were going to go into the workplace, you had to go in with some form of dignified suiting. So Liz Claiborne and Jones, New York, separate companies, and Jones run by a gentleman named Sidney Kimmel, who was so brilliant and was so in step with Bloomingdale's. And I think Bloomingdale's and Jones built their brands together and they were really immersed. But those people were amazing. And you could see how speeded up the metabolism of fashion was, because they would literally, and I knew this because I was working in London. I was doing Paris Fashion Week, and I would see all the people from Jones at a very famous restaurant called La Coupole, and it was delicious bistro food, but huge. And you'd be table hopping amongst all the American fashion tables. And these guys had like limitless, I'd never heard of it before, limitless credit cards. And they would go into, let's say, Giorgio Armani. They would spend $350,000 in a couple of days. They would literally buy every single new trouser, every single jacket. So for Beauty Over 50, women ask me all the time about my hair, my makeup, and my skin quality. I have to tell you, the truth. And I never thought I would say this a year ago, ever. I was totally resistant. I now get my beauty products, my skincare products, and my hair products all off of Amazon. I used to think of Amazon as like, oh yeah, okay, I'll buy my cat food off of Amazon, but I'm not going to buy my skincare products. But they've got everything I want, and they've got everything I'm craving to use. So, Charlotte Tilbury makeup, which is top of the line, Amazon. La Mer skincare, Amazon. Wow hair products, hairspray that honestly defies gravity, Amazon. So I created my own Amazon storefront. I'm showing you everything I'm buying, including I'm just going to start showing my new self tanner, which I got off of Amazon, and the link is in the caption below. This is revolutionary because you know what? Maybe you're like me, you lead a super busy lifestyle, and suddenly you come up to use makeup one day and it's like, yikes, oh my gosh, the bottle's empty. Yeah, no problem. When you go to Amazon and you literally can get delivery the next day on most of it, it's a great way to shop. It's so easy to see these products, and I'm behind every single one of them. They are fabulous, and they are all on my Amazon storefront. And I never thought I would have an Amazon storefront for beauty and hair, but I do. And I think you're going to find items that you become as addicted to as I am, like wow hairspray. I can't live without it now. I think I would go bonkers. If you are a beauty and glam girl like me, or if you're just somebody who loves taking really good care of your skin and your hair, Amazon has it all. Visit my storefront. I'm so proud of it, ladies. And then let me know. Let me know what you loved, how it worked for you. I can't wait for the good reviews to roll in. The link, again, is in the caption below. I used to think, where did that stuff go after they bought it? Well, unfortunately, they had to cut big holes out of it just to get it back into America through customs, but they also had to send all those fabrications, they were unbelievable, what a machine, onto China. They were already manufacturing in China. I was still in America with the, sewing rooms in New York City. But then China would try and reweave the fabric at a price that still gave it the drape, the weft, the weight of Armani. But now you weren't paying, you ready for this? $5,000 for a blazer and trouser. You were paying like $150, $125 for a blazer, which at that time seemed like a lot of money, and $75 for a fully lined trouser. Armani really paved the way. And, none of these guys started with women. What happened was, and Ralph Lauren made it clear, as crystal clear as he could, he said that all the customers who were buying for their husbands said, can you do me a favor? Can you make that for me? And he said he got enough of those requests that he thought to himself, why don't we just open a women's division? And that opened Pandora's box. That was everything. Absolutely everything. But I say it again, the metabolism of the fashion industry at that point was so, robust and fast and healthy and energetic. Around 1985, I would say you were really in the golden age of power dressing. Women had a lot of hope back then, a lot of hope. They really believed that, and I did too, that you had to present yourself in a certain way to be taken seriously, and you needed to borrow from the boys. And it's crazy, but I still think I have a couple of those blazers I collected. I kept them for nostalgia. Um, I kept them for a million reasons, but honestly, I got a lot of power out of power dressing. And then when I saw in 1999, Rene Russo in the Thomas Crown Affair, oh my God, her outfits were so outrageously cool. But you thought to yourself, oh, come on, I would never, ever wear that or could never wear that. But guess what? I knew women that did. I knew women that really duplicated a lot of those outfits and tried. And when you see that start to happen, it's a deconstruction of the idea. In other words, a pure idea of dressing like a man, but Armani made that possible with very soft, very flowy, very fluid fabrics in suiting. You were now taking elements of with Thomas Crown Affair and twisting it and twisting it. And you'll see the difference in societal attitudes if you go to the Faye Dunaway original Thomas Crown Affair from, I believe, 1968. And she's wearing mini dresses through the whole thing. She never, ever wears pants. She never wears suiting. But her suiting is all very Courage or Chanelish. And it's very, very high couture. But at the same time, it's definitely for girls. By the time you get to 1999, we're talking about power suiting, but turned on its head with very unusual, very unlikely combinations for girls. And we loved Rene Russo in those outfits. And that was actually Michael Kors, who I love for tailored blazers and tailored suiting. But that was a collection when he was working for Celine in 1997. And however disorganized the movie was, they only had 8 weeks to put wardrobe together, believe it or not, and wardrobe became the main topic of the movie, honestly, on the streets. And whoever was in charge of wardrobe said, wow, I remember that collection by Michael Kors, but that was very much the beginning of the end. And I don't know about you, but for me, I have two aspects to this. Number one, and you probably don't share this with me, I was a businesswoman in fashion. And I'll tell you what, it was a lot easier to be wearing identifiable clothing, whether you're wearing Ralph Lauren crested blazer. And I swear I would go back and buy one today if they had one. I would go on wearing that with a pair of jeans and a simple turtleneck forever and always look right. Um, it was so much easier to walk into a room and have your choice of brand, but always the same power suiting, speak for you. So if you were wearing Armani or Ralph Lauren in the 70s, everybody knew you made money or you married money. You were socially correct. You were absolutely acceptable and perhaps aspirational as well. But by the time we got to the year 2000, that had all started sort of falling apart. What made it truly fall apart and come fray and come out of its seam stitching was, I believe it was May 18th, 2012. Facebook, IPO, and Mark Zuckerberg comes to the New York Stock Exchange in a hoodie. And I believe he had the hoodie on. People said, "You look like you're a member of a gang. Oh my God, this is the end." Well, they were right. It was the end of power suiting as we knew it. That incredible niche that was a multi-million, billions dollar business had no more meaning. What had meaning was, hey, I'm the younger generation. I'm brilliant. I truly understand the next step, the internet. And guess what? I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to be in a stiff starched shirt. I don't want to be in a tie. I don't want to be in a suit jacket. And I don't want to be in a pair of trousers and lace up brogans. I want to be in whatever I want. And that was the beginning of seeing the deconstruction of the American and the Americana personality. You know, all over Europe, it was interesting. Oh, obviously, big swaths of Europe accepted the fact that Armani truly, along with Ralph Lauren, invented female tailoring, but nobody cared anymore. It was done. It was almost like history. And honestly, possibly I'm not the biggest fan of Mark Zuckerberg, although I thank him for Instagram. But oh yeah, he led America in another direction, and I think he really rocked the fashion world. And I don't think he really meant to. I think it was a little bit of, hey, hubris and being that brilliant and inventing an entirely new way to communicate. But he also invented a new way to dress. You could be brilliant. You could be a billionaire. You could be whatever you wanted to be, and you could present yourself as whoever you wanted to present yourself as. So all those walls, those societal walls, were broken in 2012. And it started a wave of casual dressing, very much like a tsunami, where it kind of backs up and it gains strength and it gains strength and it gains strength and then, but it needed that societal fashion change, a little help from Mother Nature, from karma, and guess what it was? The pandemic. So I was leading a life where I was always in some kind of designer blazer, my usual, my body of armor outfit. Can't go wrong, can't look wrong, perfect all the time. Tailored blazer, simple layering piece, pair of skinny jeans. And at the time, there weren't even fashion sneakers. But I remember coming back from breast cancer, November, Thanksgiving weekend, 2018. And by the time we got into the show, I remember, and I believe my dates are right, getting a notification, don't come back to the studio. It's closed. And then I found out New York City was closing down. Oh my God, what are you going to do? You're on television. You go to a studio for television, right? Not altogether right. You can also turn around and use Skype, use Zoom. So it started the era of remote. For me, it was not getting into airports. I was always in a public venue, an airport, some kind of car I was hiring, a hotel, a TV studio. I was never isolated. I was never alone, and I depended on that whole capsule of how to get to work. Other people just commuted to an office. I was commuting to European networks, Canadian, Australian, and American down in Florida. Well, that was over with. And we started getting instructed how to do it remotely, how to go on your shows remotely. Oh my God, I never wanted to go back again. I didn't have to worry about airports and delayed planes and crummy airport and airliner food and hotels that didn't clean your room up. And no, I get to do it all myself. I got to sleep in my own bed. Oh, it was unbelievable. I loved it. Well, so did a lot of America. And even though we did not love a pandemic, so scary, I'll tell you what, it destroyed the power suit. It absolutely brought it down. No defenses. Because once you are comfortable. You don't ever want to be uncomfortable again, right? And I mean, I do my podcasts in good clothing on top, but honestly, I'm wearing cashmere sweatpants today. I'm cheating. I cheat almost every time. Why shouldn't I? So remote brought power dressing down another peg. And the real truth is today, the industry has so shrunk. Why? We've got it in our closets already. I can't give anything up. So I must own 50, 60 status blazers. Unbelievable. I have Gucci blazers from 25, 30 years ago. And I don't need any more, to tell you the truth. And a blazer is a blazer is a blazer, and it hasn't changed. But we have gotten into soft, comfortable dressing. And then you have Jamie Dimon, who I truly respect and fear a little, um, at JP Morgan, and he is brilliant at prediction. He says AI is going to eat up a lot of jobs. People do not want a full work week. I don't blame them. And they don't want to be commuting for that entire work week. I really understand that. And they're going to live to be 100. So here's the good news out of living to be 100, Gen Xers and below. They're going to have to, in the fashion industry, finally stop ignoring the Silverellas like us. Do you know also that 33% of American women never retire? They retire at around the age of 85. Makes good sense. Keep yourself purposeful and useful, and you've got a ton of wisdom and a ton of experience. But I think it's going to be that generation that lives to be 100 that will maybe light a fire under the fashion executives to start creating real fashion wardrobes for women over 55 who are no longer perfect. I'm sorry, I just don't see enough movement in that direction. And the fashion industry is day by day consolidating and shrinking. And why? Because we're not taking advantage of what is right in front of us. The baby boomer and beyond, and going on working and having that kind of relevance. We need clothing. Help. Well, let's go to the future. I could not believe it when I heard that SpaceX chose Prada, mega Italian brand, to do luxury spacesuits. That is hysterical. And you want to know something? It makes perfect sense. They want to take space travel commercial. They want you got to wear a spacesuit, but I'm sure the people that can afford $50 million to be the first on the first commercial flight to Mars want to look fashionable. And Prada did it. And somebody just said to me, yeah, but I don't know, it doesn't look that more fashionable than just regular spacesuits. Just wait. Remember, there's so much technicality to what you have to put into it. Prada has just begun, but it isn't even that. It's the fact that a luxury brand was chosen, and then honestly, it's the first new idea. Fashion, space fashion, it's the first new idea in a couple of decades for fashion. So you know what? Get set to work a 3.5 day work week and literally have all that other time to just wear your most comfortable and practical clothing. That is going to be a huge shrinkage of the fashion industry as well as the workforce. And then get set for space. And what's it going to look like? I don't know, but I'm ready to call for Captain Kirk. How about you? Well, this was a little bit of a walk through time. I hope you enjoyed it. I always get very reflective about fashion and society and everything that's going on. And are we up in the air and where are we landing towards the end of the year? And I think that fashion is a huge reflective mirror into our lives. And I say, as an American, fashion has been such an important and an intrinsic part of my life for how many decades? I'm about to be 80. Yeah, about 8 decades. I thank you. I'll see you next Thursday. Take care and up and away into space. Thank you so much for listening to Too Young to Be Old podcast. The episode may be over, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Diane Gilman, or visit our website, thedianegilman.com. If you like the show, leave us a rating or a review and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until then, don't forget, age is just a number. Together, we'll prove that we are all too young to be old.